Hello, and welcome to another Superintendent Update, our monthly visit with Superintendent Eric Conti, who comes in and sort of gives us an update, if you will, on what's going on in the school department. Eric, thanks for coming in. Always good to see you.
Yeah.
So I want to start off this month talking a little bit about the risk behavior
Youth Risk Behavior Survey.
Youth Risk Behavior Survey
YRBS.
that was recently conducted.
Yes.
Talk about a little bit, first of all, just what is it and how is it sort of done?
Rich, just before we get there, just because we have so many exciting things going on, and I'll get to it, just sports is only one aspect of what we do, and we have lots of other things going on, but this winter has just been incredibly busy. The kids have been really successful. We had another state track state championship, which was, I think, a third in a row, which is amazing. We had the Soda brothers placing first and second Division II state at the wrestling tournament. One placed first, one placed second in their respective weight classes. Basketball was Monday night, right? The team competed against Woburn, right, successfully.
Beat the Tanners.
Beat the Tanners, and then they're playing again on Friday, so they're continuing in the state tournament. Tonight we have girls hockey in Randolph at 5. We have girls basketball at 7 tonight into the playoffs. The boys hockey team won the Cahoon tournament, which against Framingham, right, in overtime, and so that was really exciting.
4 seconds left, I believe.
So again, a lot of great things going on. Obviously, we're mostly focused in the classroom, but it's great when our kids are having these great experiences, and they just represent the community so well. So we're just thrilled that that's happening, and there's a lot of work that goes into that, both from the student's perspective, student athlete, and from the coaches, and I just want to recognize that.
Absolutely. Good thing to start off with.
Yeah, Youth Risk Behavior Survey is, we've done it, I think, since I've got here, so about a little over 10 years. We do it biannually, so we do it every other year. So the survey itself was actually administered last spring.
Okay.
It just takes a long while to, our teachers work with the results. We do it grades middle school and high school. And a lot of the questions come out of the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control, and they're looking for just exactly what it says. What are some of the risk behaviors that students are demonstrating? We look for trends over time. It's from my experience, it's not a particularly precise instrument, but I think it is accurate in terms of what we're seeing and what we're experiencing in school and what the kids are conveying. And it provides us some insight into exactly what it says, the risk behaviors that their kids are either experiencing or being exposed to in school, at home, and we help shape our curricular and some of our staffing based on the results that we see over time. So smoking might be an example of behavior.
Right.
But if we've seen significant declines in smoking, that doesn't necessarily mean things are hugely successful, because what we've seen is significant increases in vaping. So I think it's just something that tries to give us some information and then allows us to then educate kids about the risks of some of the behaviors that they're going to be exposed to. And adolescence is a challenging time. I'm sure we both remember. Students aren't necessarily in the best frame of mind to make good decisions, so we try to equip them to do that.
And also, there's mental health things that go along with it, right? Like,
Yes.
you ask students about feelings of depression, suicidal thoughts, things like that. And I'm guessing that's a way that, if you see something that can be addressed, resources could be made available.
Again, the Youth Risk Behavior Survey is completely anonymous. So
right, so it's no individual.
No individual. We have other screeners that we do that are tied to individuals if we have some concerns that we could target some students who are maybe in crisis or approaching crisis. But the Youth Risk Behavior Survey allows us then to create supports in place if we see, again, large trends. And we are seeing trends where we're seeing increased levels of anxiety, trauma. We've seen significant increases in the mental health needs of students and the mental health supports that we need to put in place. And that's system-wide. That's elementary, middle, and high school that
wow.
that we're needing to address in those parts of child development. And again, people can always say, why now? Why not when we were kids? And I don't have the answer to that, but I can just see that we are seeing that, and we are feeling it's just a critical part of educating kids today, is that you have to address both their social and emotional needs as well as their academic needs as well.
Yeah, I don't think any good idea needs to be forestalled just because it wasn't done in the past. Now, I know one of the things that was undertaken in the school department, especially specifically for the high school, to kind of help students maybe get the better sleep they need to have the capacity to make better decisions, was the change of the high school start time.
Mm-hmm.
And that recently a survey was sort of conducted about that. How did that come out?
Well, our Director of Health and PE, Matt Jackling, again, this is the second year where we've had the 8:35 start time for the high school. High school start time used to be 7:30. That was 2 years ago. Matt did a sort of a brief survey the spring before we changed, so that those would be students who were starting at 7:30, and then he did a follow-up survey. Again, not a precise instrument by any means. I think Matt would be the first to say that, but we were just looking at trends and trying to get some feedback from students. There's no perfect schedule, and I think we were just trying to respond to research, and just again, just as a reminder to everyone, the research is that students in that particular age group, because of their brain development, are in a different sleeping pattern than adults. The way they tend to think about it is their sleeping patterns are the same as ours, but they're adjusted about 2 hours later. So students are walking around in a permanent state of jet lag, is the way it was described to me. But it's also important for people to know that not every hour is the same. So I think there's a lot of research that shows that sort of deep REM, that brain rejuvenation sleep, really is needed early in the morning, sort of 5, 6, 7 o'clock. And just that changing the start time to 8:30 makes a huge difference in terms of giving the brain that time to rest. So again, not every hour is the same. So even if the feedback was my kid was getting 6 or 7 hours before, and they're still getting 6 or 7 hours, again, not every one of those 6 or 7 hours, according to the research, is equivalent.
Right.
So I think,
or to put it another way, just because they go to bed a little bit later and get up a little bit later, it's still better sleep. Is there what the research?
Supposedly, yes. I mean, and there's always exceptions, and kids are all not unique is an overused word, but I'm saying I get that there are maybe individuals. We're just looking at trends and trying to create a schedule that allows the kids to be most successful. With the additional sleep, I think the research was saying that they found that there were better impacts on mental health, diet, everything else like that. So would we see any of that in the first couple of years? The answer is, no, it'd be too soon. I think what we have seen in terms of the early survey results is that kids are getting more sleep. Anecdotally, Matt has done some conversations with faculty. I think kids are more prepared and ready for first period, as opposed to sort of sleeping through first period. We've seen many fewer tardies. But counter to that, we have had the need to do some more early dismissals, and that was known for a couple areas. I think in the fall, some of the sports are impacted because it gets dark earliest when we don't have lights. So cross country, golf would be two sports where we don't have lighted fields, and then there are other things like that have been impacted. But the impact in the afternoon hasn't been, I don't think, as significant as as we were thinking about either. So again, I think people have adjusted. There's no perfect schedule. I think we'll continue to look at it. I think the high school is making some scheduling changes next year within the day. So not the start time will stay the same. The end part of the day may be adjusted slightly. But I think they're changing the period structure and the rotation to try to create a little bit of a slower pace, more opportunity for kids to have time to get some support if needed, and it's a schedule that's, I think, meant to heighten the opportunities for, again, that social emotional growth the kids have, and they wouldn't be necessarily having 7 classes every single day. They'd be having to worry more about the periods are going to be a little bit longer. So again, so they might. It's more of a modified block-ish type schedule where I think they're going to go to a five periods a day on a 7-day rotation, as opposed to 7 periods a day on a 5-day rotation. So again, it can get all confusing, but I think the intention is to slow the day down a little bit and to have the kids just have more time and not be so, their schedules not be so jam-packed, and try to reduce some of the anxiety that can come with that.
Excellent. Now I know we are, heading up towards Maytown meeting, so budget season is well underway. What are some of the things that the school department is looking at, just in general with the budget, and then possible, capital projects?
I think in the budget we have some areas of need. I think nursing is something that continues to be a surprise for me. We have more kids coming to school with needing medical support, and again, they have every right to be in school, and our obligation is to support them. But we're seeing greater needs there. Our English language learning population continues to grow and expand, so we're needing to provide support there. And then I think in the areas that we already discussed, our mental health, social emotional health, wellness, those areas are also, we're seeing a growing need to support the students there. So even though our enrollment, I think, is ticking up, but again, I think doing it in a gradual way, we may not need some classroom teachers. We still need some support staff, because we're seeing growing needs in terms of the student body, who is comprising the student body that we have. So that's it. I think you and I had talked before the cameras turned on about some capital projects that we're looking at. I think we have some, one of the needs, again, that sticks out in my head is the middle school auditorium. While they renovated the building envelope, they didn't do a lot inside the auditorium, so we need new curtains, for instance, and some new lighting and things to make the auditorium usable. Ms. Purchase and her faculty have mentioned wanting to do a middle school musical, and we need to make some upgrades to the auditorium to have that be more of a usable space. So that'll be a significant project. I think, believe it or not, the varsity field, the athletic field that seems like we just did, has been now 10 years.
I was going to say, it seems like it just
and so we're talking about now doing some planning or phasing that in. We don't have to do the same level of work that we did, but I think the turf has to be sort of refurbished, replaced, and the track needs to have some work done, and that might be over the next 2 to 3 years, not just next, but we might do a big chunk of that. And again, we have older buildings, so we always have to look at other infrastructure, boilers, nothing that's really sort of learning based, which would be an area that I have, but certainly necessary. And Bob Kuhner, our Director of Operations, has a close eye on all that stuff, and he's I'm sure he will put together we have a 10-year capital plan too, so he'll put together a plan to make sure that we are ready to go.
And I know, we talked about this last time, and it's a slow process, so there might not be much of an update, but I do believe that a submission to the state has been made for elementary space needs.
No, it has not.
Has not yet.
That's due in April.
April, okay.
I think what we have submitted is a request for RFQ, request for companies to come in and agree to work with us. So I think we've gotten their proposals. We'll hand those proposals over to the school committee, and let's say in the next few weeks, school committee will select someone, a design partner that we can work with, and that would be someone to answer questions regarding the elementary space, for instance, specifically, and some other questions about the high school in terms of the heating and cooling system, which is something that we've all discussed for a long time, and other building needs like science labs and things like that. So they would be the designers and the actual engineers who would allow us to sort of think about and to do the work. And so if we were to build an elementary school, the initial application in April is just about the need, but the designer would help us think about adding to that application, which I think would be a positive thing, but also might talk about where the building could be placed, because it would have to be built concurrently because we need all 4 elementary schools, and
Right.
some of the questions. And we had that partner in a company called KBA when I first arrived here that helped us through the memorial process and the middle school process. And so we are looking to work with another partner now to move forward. So we're out to bid on that.
Get all that professional advice that makes everything help work.
Yep. But again, we submit in April and we don't hear until next December. So
Right.
it would be December of 20 that we would know whether our building project was supported. And even after that, there's a 6 or 7 year process that occurs
Right.
when you're working with the state out from there. So I just, again, as I remind everyone all the time, there's still plenty of time for input. This is about getting on the state's timeline for funding.
Right. So we'll be talking about that in a superintendent update in 2026 or so, 27.
Right.
Assuming we're both still here doing
Assuming
this.
we're both still here doing this, that's right. So,
All right. Well, that's all the questions I had. I appreciate you coming in and sharing your time and your thoughts about what's going on.
and I know BCAT is at all these events in the evening with the kids too, and they really appreciate seeing it. So thank you. I know that takes a lot of time and effort, and I hopefully will see a bunch of community members and parents out at the
Yes.
at the events that are coming up this week and next. So
Support the Red Devils.
That's
It's-
right.
It's always fun.
that's great.
Thank you very much.
All right.